Welcome to PolyCast, a civilization podcast focused on game strategy.
CanusAlbinus,
Makahlua,
TheMeInTeam,
Mega Bears fan.
Alright, I'm gonna make a clap so we know where to cut it, and then we'll start again. Everybody cover your ears.
welcome to PolyCast 423. I'm Makahlua, and with me as usual, CanusAlbinus.
This time it worked! Yay!
And TheMeInTeam.
only the finest backstabs and surprise wars here.
Mega Bearson not with us today. He's doing what I did a couple of weeks ago and just crashing the heck out because he hasn't been sleeping well. Know the feeling. I was gonna make joke. I was gonna. Maybe I'll type it in later. I was gonna tease him like, "You're celebrating that hard after Vegas won Stanley Cup."
Yeah, it's not like Vancouver, where I think they either won or lost, and then they rioted and destroyed the city or something.
I believe it was lost. Vancouver has not won in forever, and even a guy I watch for hockey stuff is like, "Yeah, they're not winning in my lifetime." He's been a Vancouver fan his whole life, so you know.
I'm a little sad. I don't care about hockey, really, but it's always amusing to me when a Florida team manages to take the cup. It doesn't happen that often, but it has happened, and it's funny.
Like, how many hockey teams are there in Florida alone compared to how many there are in Canada? Like, come on, guys.
There are 2 in Florida. There are 6 in Canada. It's just that the 2 Florida teams have been very successful lately.
I thought it was 3 in Florida.
No, you
I
may
only
be
know
thinking
about
of
the Panthers
Carolina.
and the Lightning.
Yeah, just the Panthers and the Lightning. Then there's the Carolina Hurricane. You know?
Doesn't Tampa have one as well?
That's the Lightning.
Yeah, Lightning.
Okay, I'm confused.
It does get a little weird when you move between sports because, like, the Hurricanes are a college football team, but they're a pro hockey team, and the pro hockey team is not in Florida.
Where I live, we have the Comets, who are a much lower level team for hockey, but there's also a Comets in Major League Hockey, so I think.
Really?
What is it called? National
I don't
League?
know. I only think of baseball when I hear Major League, but it might be the same with hockey.
It's just minor league, isn't it?
The Fort Wayne Comets?
I mean, there's got to be something for the NHL.
Yeah, they have there's multiple. I mean, the big one is the AHL, American Hockey League, but there's also a few other smaller leagues that people play in. But AHL is where they ship the younger guys out to get some experience before they move them up into the main team. Like we have the Dallas Stars and the Texas Stars. We like stars here. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Yeah, we made the observation at one point that this being myself and several members of my family who were very close in my age, I had 12 cousins growing up, so let me tell you how big my family was. But we would always walk around people's houses in the neighborhoods in the small town we live in. I mean, it's not super small. It's big enough that it has its own fire department. But you would always be able to tell, because we knew a lot of people in town, we always knew who was from Texas because they always had a big star on their house. Every time. And
it's not every house here, but yeah, I see it all the time.
Now, these are the big metal stars that you see on horse ranches and such. Every single house in town from somebody who was from Texas had one of those stars on it. And it was like, we didn't notice this until we were quite a bit older, but we would just one by one learn that they were originally from Texas, and it's like, that makes sense.
Well, that's without even getting into the in-state grocery store chain where we have so many Texas-shaped things. Even tortilla chips.
We have a lot of things that are shaped like Indiana, but mostly because it's a rectangle with a crooked bottom. Anyway, did you guys know that there is a bug in Civ 6 where if you are using a stealth bomber on an enemy where there's an ally near you that is a giant death robot, it will shoot down your thing if it has the anti-air promotion, even if it's an ally.
But see, it's stealth. It doesn't know that's an ally.
I've never come across that particular interaction, but it is interesting.
Apparently, it's been reported once before, and then it happened again recently. Somebody posted it on the forum and is like, yeah, that's a thing that happens. It's pretty rare, though, because usually you don't have an ally during the times when you have stealth bombers and giant death robots in Civ, but...
Well, plus, like, you would need the ally to actually be near what you're fighting.
Yeah. I think the implication was that he was helping an ally defeat an enemy Civ, which seems like not a thing that you would do in a high-level play, but...
Yeah, it's just roleplay. But, I mean, it still shouldn't shoot down friendly units. It's funny, though.
I don't want to be the soldier operating the GDR that has to report about that. But, sir, I thought it was an enemy plane.
Yeah, I'm sure the people on the Vincennes felt the same way.
You shoot down the anomaly. I mean, friendly fire's a big problem in real wars, like, and not just because like you can't ID the super stealthy plane or whatever. You have to do considerable work to like not shoot your own people on the ground.
It's really bad when it's civilian airliners, though, because that has happened a few times.
Oh, like the civilian planes get shot down?
Yeah.
No, that's not really... It's a little different.
Yeah, they should be very well aware that it's not a military plane, but sometimes wires get crossed. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the Civ news instead of the real world news.
It's usually a plus on this podcast. I think that's what people are here for, is the Civ stuff.
Yeah.
It's been 30 years of civilization. Article on TechSpot, they're talking about this, and over 51 million units sold and 1 billion hours played. And why does my brain say that's probably low? Maybe it's 1.5 billion hours? Considering how bad One More Turnism can be.
Well, 1.5 is over 1 billion.
Oh, this is a screenshot. Did somebody create a Firaxis Civ and for one of them?
El Cid of the Mire.
Yeah.
Just one more turn. Infinity lost sleep for the conquered millions. Weird diplomacy. Yeah. Stacking eliminated.
Why is it so addictive? We don't know. We don't know why we're all still playing it other than it's good. It has a little hook to something. That's why One More Turn exists.
Also why PolyCast exists.
Wait a minute. His solution was inspired by an F1 race he was watching? I'm sorry, I got down to that part in the arc and went, wait a minute.
What was the question?
This part where it's talking about his initial prototype of civilization was good, but it wasn't outstanding. He couldn't use the same kind of pace he used in Railroad Tycoon, but apparently watching the F1 race made him decide to do a turn-based format. Oh, much like in racing, every decision now held the potential to alter the course of the game.
Watching the F1 race in the hospital after his son's birth.
Yeah. So a combination of F1 and sleep deprivation. Oh, and hiding the map as well. So
making sure that people didn't have all the information right at the start. That is a WASP. Sorry.
It's not the best when those are in the house, in my experience.
Right.
No, but they circulated the prototype among the Microprose employees and eventually got to the point where people are staying after hours to play it. So at that point, hey, you might have a good game.
And it was being developed on the side, like it was just him and one other guy, and the other guy was Bruce Shelley, who went on to make Age of Empires.
Pretty sure every dev office has some little side projects like that. They don't always get the room to bring them to fruition, though. Sometimes it has to wait till they go to their own company or another company.
Well, this was his company already.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, for other devs.
Plus, like, only a fraction of them are going to be good, just like any game development. Lots of things you try before you get success stories.
Yeah, and the original Civ wasn't just super huge right out the gate. It was one of those things that people told people, and people started playing it, and then it started selling more copies, which is exactly what happened. I and a friend actually swapped games, and I played. I on my neck because I have to give these discs back, and I'm not done playing my game.
I remember those days.
Yeah, I had a few games like that too.
We used to swap PlayStation discs in Final Fantasy games. And then we would come to the end of a section, and it would be like, please insert the next disc. But I haven't saved yet. And it's like, okay, so I have to remove the disc and take it back to somebody else without turning off the machine. And in this part of the world, sometimes power outages happen when big storms come through. And then I discovered they were all playable on the PC, so I played them there. And then I finished them 20 years later when they came out on Steam.
Well, I didn't have to wait 20 years to finish that game of Civilization. Or play more games. Or play even more Civs.
Yeah, I played a pretty wide spread of genres as a kid. That's still true now, but maybe not the same extent. I just don't have as much time as I used to, even though I still have plenty.
So yeah, this article overall is a very good short form description of how the franchise has been developed over the years and who's been involved and all that fun stuff. And then there's also some stuff about Alpha Centauri and Beyond Earth, briefly. I recommend a read. There's not a whole lot about Civ 6, but that's fine. And we don't have to read it. Anybody else have anything to say, or should we move?
Also looking at some of the older screenshots.
Blast from the past, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, this particular model, it certainly brings that to mind. So we're covering the site PlayYourDamnTurn.com, Civilization 5, 6, Beyond Earth, Old World, Hot Seat Multiplayer Management. So it allows you to operate cross-platform, and it uses the hot seat mode rather than simultaneous turns. And it's play by email, I guess. Is there another option here other than play by email?
I'm pretty sure that this is. I think they were talking about pit boss types today.
Oh, I didn't see that on the homepage, but maybe it's an option.
Cross-platform client.
Yeah, but that's saying it's a desktop utility that like downloading and playing easy, not that they would be running like a server where the game is hosted on a timer or something.
You get an email that notifies you when it's turned, then you go to your website or to the client, download the save file, and play your turn. So I don't think you're emailing save files to each other.
Oh, you're still getting it from the client, but you get a notification through email. Interesting.
So basically, it's just
which reminds me a little bit of the Discord bots for Dominion's multiplayer.
This is basically a crude recreation of the old pit boss mod.
Yeah, which I mean, if you want to play Hot Seat, that's helpful. And Hot Seat does have some, like when you do simultaneous turns, you do take away a little bit of the design of the game because when you're doing simultaneous turns and you're at war, that can cause some interactions that don't exist in the single player experience. And not just because your opponent plays better, but because your opponent can input actions at the start of the turn faster than you.
The famous double moves that we started talking about in Civ 5.
Yeah, but even if you don't, there's a significant advantage. Like, if you just click on your stuff faster at the start of a turn and shoot with it faster, you now deal damage to the enemy unit, who, because it's injured, will deal less damage back. So even if everything is otherwise equal and you're not double moving, which can still be done, you still have that consideration as well. Just ordering shots faster puts you in an advantage with an otherwise perfectly even scenario. So there's no good way around that with simultaneous turns. That's just going to be an aspect of skill that is not usually representative in Civ, but in this case it is. And that might be fun for some people too. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but if you want it to be truly a turn-based experience, you are not getting that when somebody is speed clicking through like 5 guys to shoot at you.
Well, the good news is that Civ isn't robust enough to actually send all 5 of those shots through if you are clicking fast as you.
I don't consider that to be good news, though, because like when you can't trust your controls, that's even worse in my mind, because now you're like beholden to whatever the crap the game is doing, rather than your inputs or the enemies. Yeah, well, I want to be very clear, though, because that's a source of frustration when I've played Civ games in multiplayer, is that like the outcome should at least be decided by something being done by one of the other players, not the game deciding to eat your inputs versus not. And that's certainly a problem in some of the Paradox games as well sometimes.
Some of them or all of them?
Oh, I can't say all of them because I don't have first-hand experience with it in some of them. Like, I've never played Vicky 3, and I've like barely touched Vicky 2, so I can't tell you how that plays out in terms of whether it eats your inputs and how accurately your controls execute the orders you've given. Whereas I do have plenty of experience in EU4 and Hearts of Iron 4, and I can tell you that Hearts of Iron 4 is by far the worst out of the Paradox games I've played.
Vicky 3 doesn't have any unit management, so it doesn't have that level of problem, which is its own problem, for the record. But
yeah, but at least
there's literally
it's a different
nothing.
Game, basically, it's a different style.
There's literally
of game.
nothing in Victoria 3 that requires any real micromanagement. It's mostly just clicking on buttons next to the highest number.
I mean, that's also true in stuff like Master of Orion or whatever. Like,
yes.
your micromanagement is like how you're handling your empire, not like controlling your units, which are very different skill sets.
Yes,
controlling units in real time versus like optimizing things.
But Master of Orion is 20 plus years old now.
I mean, any turn-based like that, where you don't have to micro units on simultaneous turns, is not going to have that be a pressure component.
I guess Vicky isn't really a turn-based game, is it?
No, yeah, none of those Paradox games are. Unless you consider like every unit of time in the game a turn, but no, they're real time. They're real time with pausing. Often, multiplayer does not allow for pausing in competitive fights, because it would be ridiculous if it did.
Sorry, I paused in the middle of your combo, so you don't get to use your special attack.
Yeah, or you're breaking through me by surprise in the south, huh? Hang on, let me just pause the game, strategically redeploy a couple tiles back so I can catch this and try to counter pocket you. All right, hang on. I'm also scripting a naval invasion. I know.
Buy a whole new army to smash your face with.
Oh, that's harder because that has a time. You need to use up time to train an army in Hearts of Iron and have the equipment for it, both. So there will be a minimum of usually a couple weeks before you can deploy units with pretty heavy penalties. So that part of the game is reasonable, at least. There's a lot of good things about the game. That's why it's so frustrating to have the awful controls souring the experience.
I wonder if some of those people who, there's the big mod groups that are like, oh, we'll make this whole grand strategy storytelling thing in Hearts of Iron. Where's the mod that fixes the controls?
It's probably hard. Because some stuff is quote unquote hard coded versus you can just make new focuses or whatever. And my impression is that messing with how the game runs at baseline is much more challenging than creating a new focus tree and giving it to somebody.
It must be possible though, because the Ambinar exists.
They don't really change your UI controls though, too much. They change they hack the menu systems in. I say hack as it's not really hacking, but they're doing a hack job of the decision system to bring up an event menu, and then they have significantly modified the event window so it looks cool and presents information cleanly. So they're using what the game has given to them. But even Anbinar mods, despite that they are pretty talented when it comes to this stuff, they can't change how you're merging armies or moving them between provinces or that sort of thing, to my knowledge.
Not much, I guess.
So they are working around limitations, and I think the only way you beat that is doing what the FTL multiverse mods did, where they're changing base game files. There is a mod that allows you to alter the game files that you install, Hyperspace, and then you install Multiverse, and now they really are changing how the controls work. But that's the only mod I've played in any game that actually changed how the hard-coded controls work and did so successfully. Maybe there's others, I just haven't experienced it, but it's uncommon. Multiverse is probably the best single mod, along with Hyperspace, that which is a pair of mods now. But that is the best mod experience I've ever seen adjusted for the game they're in by a margin. So yeah, if you have a team of developers basically working for free who are competent, then maybe they can fix your UI for you. But probably the game should just have a good UI in the first place, using the developers of the game who made the game.
Yeah, but they're sweet.
That's true. The Dominions 5 user interface leaves something to be desired as well, and they're also Switch.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh,
I did not know that.
Although the problems in Dom 5 versus the Paradox games are not the same problems, but they both have some pretty significant UI problems. It does feel really weird to use to have your right click select, left click move in Dominions, though. Takes some muscle memory adjustment. It's so strange. Like
trying to drive a Model T. Not used to it.
Yeah, or you're just switching between European driving and US driving whenever you switch between that game and another game. You can get used to it if you do it a lot, but it certainly is an experience. That's not my biggest criticism though, because that's still it's still functional. It's just different. My problems with that is the scripting so much work, and there needs to be a lot more clarity of information presented, because the game just straight up misrepresents how some things work too, which I have no patience for. Yeah, whatever. We're getting into the weeds a bit, I think.
As usual on PolyCast. Let's talk about Ozymandias, shall we? Now, this is a game that we did not notice when it first came out. Potato McWhisty did a video of it, and it's basically modeled as a Civ game that you can play multiplayer in 1 hour to 2 hours instead of 5 to 10. And having watched him play it, I'd say it's not really a Civ game. It's got the same setting, but it's not really complex enough to be called a Civ. Did anybody else watch the video?
Catan. Whee! No, it's not Settlers of Catan either.
No.
I would say it's a resource management game with hexes. It's yeah. Yeah, that's like the fastest summary I can give. Where you have full resources and you can somewhat transfer between them, and then pick modifiers that help you spend them more efficiently.
It does look like an interesting game, but I looked at the Steam page, and since we saw this video, which was about 3 months ago, there have been 3 DLCs, and now there are 5 DLCs, and it seems like one of those DLC bait game maybe, but it also has like $1.50 for each DLC, so maybe not that bad. I don't know.
They probably wanted to get their initial concept pushed out so people could also give feedback and things like that. And the lower pricing of the DLC makes me think it's just because they need a little more development funding and stuff like that. This is not something. Does not seem like one of the cash grab type ones that we've seen.
I would agree with that. It doesn't seem like a cash grab attempt.
Not everybody's favorite model to push out all the stuff into the DLC, but sometimes it's heavy. Smaller companies have to do it.
The base game only has 6 CIvs, and that sounds like not enough, but when you look at the way the game plays, you don't really need more than 6 CIvs on the map. So I think that's fine. It's definitely not got the depth that Civ has.
Did we cover that there's a video of it for people who are interested to check it out? Because I don't really have anything else to say about it other than if you are interested in it, then check it out.
I think we needed Mega Bears fan here because he was the one who brought this to my attention. It's unfortunate that he's not here today.
Well, we can ask him on the next show if there's anything he wanted to emphasize with it, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on.
Okay, so combat bonuses by Sir Novelty on Civ Fanatics. So this is a comparison thread between CIvV and Civ6 combat, and he has a few notes at the start, which I think gum up the analysis a little bit, but it's still an interesting thread. But yeah, not discussing one unit per tile combat in this post, although I think that is crucial to comparing between the two games. I'll get to that in a minute. And also, when he says combat bonuses, referring specifically to what units receive, and nothing to do with the tactical position relative to other units or their own promotions. Again, this is a very significant impact on combat between the two games, and they are not the same between the two games, so they are necessarily a part of any analysis between combat between Civ 5 and 6. So one of the first things he does is points out how, because of how the combat in Civ 6 works, plus 4 or 5 bonus is nearly strong or as strong as some of the strongest things in Civ 5. And that's true. It's not like a ratio like it is in previous games where 20 strength over 10 strength is the same impact as 10 strength over 5. Like that flat 10 is huge. So those combat things the modifiers are more significant in 6. That's objectively true. Another thing about the 1 unit per tile aspect is that this isn't his argument now, it's mine. When you start adding corps and armies and support units into the mix, all those things are also applying modifiers, sometimes very significant modifiers, like plus 17 strength, which is more than an era skip in unit performance. So Civ 6 is one of the few examples where you can be significantly behind in tech and have a better performing army through other means. And I don't think that's emphasized enough in this thread, how big a difference that is from previous Civs. Like even in Civ 4, it's extremely hard to do, and the Civ 4 has very strong promotion system, and it's just you can't you can have all the promotions on a mace, and it's pretty hard to kill a rifle with like nothing, right? That's not even close to true in Civ 6. There's a paragraph on how decisively attacks are executed in Civ 6, which I think is true. Paragraph on diminishing tactics, which I absolutely disagree with here. Yes, units deal more damage, but like he's disregarding the policy cards that increase damage, like surround and pound policy cards mixed with unit positioning that will allow things to do more damage. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
because how you position versus how your opponent position will have a direct impact on the strength modifiers, and that's easily enough to change the outcome of fights directly. In addition to that, because there's a lot of damage, there's a lot of emphasis on having vision, positioning units in a way that lets you make most of the attacks first, which then limits how much damage the enemy deals in return. This is getting back to what I was mentioning with the speed advantage, just like inputting things faster than your opponent in simultaneous turns. But there's also something to be said for just being able to shoot at your opponent when they can't shoot you back, or limiting their ability to shoot you before you can close the distance on you. If they don't have indirect fire and they have more ranged units, then positioning makes a big difference. There are so many scenarios where positioning makes a big difference. And even the unit types you have, the policy cards you're running for movement speed, all of that is a factor in tactics. I think Civ 6 is pretty tactically rich, perhaps the most in Civ.
I'd say it's probably more tactical than Civ 5.
I think certainly more than Civ 5 and possibly more than Civ 4, despite Civ 4's terrain promotions and whatnot. Just because Civ 4 is very constraining with how you moved in hostile culture most of the time. So between that and Collateral Initiative, Civ 4 was more limited in the way that I think Civ 6 isn't, with the number of things that can influence unit positioning.
It's hard.
Promotions do too.
It's hard for me to go back to Civ 4 and before because I like having units that move or can move more than one tile per turn.
Well, Civ 4 had that, but only mounted units until late game.
Yeah.
Or in your own territory, right? Because once you have engineering, anything in your own territory that's on a road moves 3. But you can't use enemy roads like you can in Civ 6. So you didn't have to be as careful with road placement for your own empires. But that mattered a lot, because then even if you had 2 movers, if you're in hostile territory, the enemy could move 3. So they always had initiative on you, and like that's a huge deal because of collateral damage. So your whole stack takes multiple damage like every time one thing attacks and you get wiped. Like, it's awful. So that was a pretty big problem actually, and it changed how wars were fought in Civ 4. And Defender still has a big advantage in Civ 6, but the reasons are different. You get so much cover from cities. And also a vision advantage, because your culture borders will see things for you even when units aren't there. So if you back up to a city and you have units garrisoned in the city, in and around the city, limiting the directions the opponent can attack you from, well, they have to commit everything to your view before really seriously engaging you, which is not true in reverse. You can still be hiding stuff from their view that can surprise them. So on top of all the city stuff, there's also a vision advantage of the defender. It's pretty important. So yeah, I completely disagree that tactics have been diminished in Civ 6. I think Civ 6 is one of the best, if not the best, for combat tactics as a representation in Civ. Increased complexity of war machines, I don't know. There's some trade-offs there.
Did you have something to say,
going
Mackie?
into like tech rushes and momentum and stuff. Oh yeah, what's up, Mackie?
Well, just that I don't know so much about between Civ 5 and Civ 6, but when we went to the 1 unit per tile thing, do have to think a little bit more about how I'm deploying things.
You gotta put
I think you're only saying that because you're not used to fighting people like in Civ 4. Like, because it's such a huge gulf between fighting an AI and fighting a human in Civ 4.
Oh yeah, but it also feels like in Civ 4 I could just throw a stack at things.
Yeah, you
just
can.
Make sure you had the right composition. Just throw a stack. That's it. That's all I had to think about, whether it's a human or an AI.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, I have to stop and think a minute, and like, I mean, you still have to worry about unit composition, because if you think they're going to spawn city walls while you're on your way, you better have brought like a battering ram or something with you. And
basically Mackie never played competitive multiplayer. Like, I never played competitive multiplayer, which is why I don't know anything about how to fight a human player in Civ 4.
You remember that game, Mackie, where I killed Firefox in like 15 turns or less or something in Civ 4? I don't know if that's a long time ago now.
Yeah, that's a long time.
To illustrate my point, he had a larger and stronger military than I had at the start of that war, and he was off the map. And he also had more cities. He was off the map in like 15 turns. Not just like he lost the war, he was dead. And the reason he did that is because he took a big stack and moved it into my territory. And I just killed it. I wiped his entire army to a man because he let me get collateral initiative on his stack. He would have needed to either be an era in front so that I could not follow up collateral damage with killing his units, or just like probably 4 times the size of the military in order for that maneuver to work. And there's a lot of alternatives in Civ 4. Like, you can take Guerrilla 2 and like land some stuff on a mountain, and then if there's only hills, or land some stuff on hills, if there's only hills between cities, now you can push like 6 units into a space between cities. And unlike the AI, which throws like 3 or 4 garrison units everywhere, it's overly expensive for a player to do that. So now they're going to have a hard time like retreating to the interior of their empire and dealing with a fork on multiple cities, things that threaten multiple cities. Same deal if it's relatively early in the game, they don't roads literally everywhere, and you get 2 movers. That could also threaten multiple cities. It's a similar deal with naval units where that flips the advantage to the attacker because you have like 3 coastal cities and the enemy has 40 units on boats. You can't do collateral damage at sea, and if you can't attack those boats directly now, all 3 of those cities need enough people to hold up to 50 attackers, which you really can't realistically produce as a defender. So now Navy becomes really important, whereas in against the AI, it's a joke. So there's a lot of considerations like that, or forest promotions, that kind of thing, in choking people out of their strategic resources that just doesn't come up in single player warfare against the AI, because the AI has an imbalance in that it produces more units, and it also does absolutely nothing tactically to punish player misplays. So the wars are basically completely different worlds between single and multiplayer Civ 4. And that's true in the other Civs as well. Human players play much better than AI in war tactics. And you'll see that represented in Civ 5, Civ 6, Civ 3, across the board. All the Civs have more going on in multiplayer than single player. But because 4 is so stack-oriented in single player, it's easy to miss how big a difference that is in how you play the game. Yeah, human players aren't going to let you just crap on their units and kill them for free either. They're going to rotate them out and stuff.
Oh, it's true. I see our cooperative multiplayer ones. I see the AI do so many dumb moves in 6 where it's you could unit, but you decided to focus on something else. It's why? Kill the units. What would a human player do? Kill the unit that's wounded and almost dead. But,
he does mention. Okay, I take it back. He does mention the weakening of the tech tree, quote unquote, but really it's the introduction of modifiers that overpower a tech advantage.
Which is probably more there to let you have those amazing comeback from behind victories type of a thing.
Well, I think it's just to smooth out which investments are correct. Because for most of Civ's existence, I would say Civ 1 through 5, science just dominated warfare to the point where investing in warfare buildings and trying to get generals, all that stuff would make you lose wars because the opponent would just get a better technology too quickly and field units that just destroyed your armies. And that was true in Civ 4 as well. For all the tactical depth that Civ 4 did have that people don't realize. On the other hand, all of that goes away if you're trying to fight rifles with pieces. You would need so many catapults hitting those rifles, and the opponent can just split them up a little bit. And now you're losing 4-to-1 production ratios. It's untenable. There's no way to deal with that. So now you kind of have to just build science stuff, because if you don't, you lose. And it's still somewhat true in Civ 6. Tech matters a lot. The base unit strength matters a lot, because you can still apply all the military investments to the more advanced unit, and now you're even further ahead of the person who's got outdated units. On the other hand, it does mean that if somebody heavily invests into military, they will reap a reward for it. They can actually fight, and there's a bigger window where they're still threatening to the enemy than previous iterations of Civ. But I mean, if you make it so that military investments are more effective, that will necessarily weaken the impact of the tech tree on warfare. But I don't know. I think Civ 6's design was pretty good there. Tech still matters. You really don't want to be fighting muskets with swordsmen if you can help it.
Well, yeah, because depending on which civs you're up against or how terrain stuff. If you get more than a 1 unit upgrade or 2 behind, it starts being. It's not impossible, but it's a slog.
Yeah. Plus, you get a lot of value out of the culture tree too. Like I mentioned, corps and armies already, but you also get movement, multiple sources of movement. So between generals and your policy cards, melee stuff is moving at 5 rather than 2. Well, that's a huge advantage going back to the tactics section above. They can straight up make attacks that were otherwise impossible as a consequence of those investments. And if your opponent doesn't have them, well, I mean, I would argue that even though it's a split tech tree, it's still 2 tech trees, sort of. They're just on different yields, and those things make a huge difference. You also get direct combat bonuses out of that. So yeah, you might be ahead in science, but not in culture, and people are leveraging culture into a military bonus, which is effectively just another type of research bonus. It's just using a different tree. I don't see a significant problem here. The person who's making the better investments is going to have the advantage, and in that aspect, it's like any other strategy. I think Civ 6 did a good job. I was less enthused by Civ 5 combat than Civ 6. And part of that is just Civ 6 made adjustments to 5's model it didn't strictly adhere to 1 unit per tile, and it did declutter the map considerably. And some of these choices that are being talked about in the opening post are reflective of that. Like, I think they were intentionally done. Like, if you kill units more quickly, then Carpets of Doom are less likely to form and less problematic because you're killing stuff fast enough that they can't just be replaced every second.
And the splitting things into different layers of, like workers and settlers onto one layer, and then the religious guys are on a layer.
Yeah, all that contributes to decluttering.
Yeah.
And so does making it more possible to gouge the quality of a unit rather than just adding more units. Because if you're running like plus 17 strength and you add more modifiers, you're at like plus 27 strength or whatever, all of that contributes to resolving stuff more quickly and not just flooding the map with garbage. Not as nice as having more space between cities, like we've talked about in past iterations, but it helped a lot. I guess anyone else got comments on or additional comments on the combat bonuses?
I generally agree. I mean, I'm not a big fighter, so I don't do a lot of thinking about strategy in terms of that kind of thing. But I do recognize that 6 is more than 5. Might be why I like 5 better, because it's easier in 5. But, that's just me.
You find yourself on the defense sometimes, though, right? Like,
yes.
So you have to at least plan for that.
Yes, and that's a lot easier than trying to attack.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what that's like, because I'm usually like investing in resources that let me do attacks. And so as a consequence, if I am attacked anyway, I'm much better positioned to defend. So I wonder what that's like if you're like mostly playing peacefully.
Well, you build units that are good on the defense, and you set up your defenses properly, you'll be fine. If you do what I used to do when I was much younger and don't build defenses, then, well, it's your own fault.
Yeah. I guess what's sufficient depends on the difficulty, too.
Yeah, I don't play on deity. I play on, I think it's king. Either king or emperor, one of the two.
He's like city walls plus a couple range units plus like something in front of the city so your city just doesn't get surrounded. I find most of the time that's good enough, but if they have like, 15 units, you might need help. and then like 3 units plus the city or 4 units plus the city isn't enough anymore because you're not doing enough damage quickly enough.
That becomes a problem. But I don't usually see the AI with that many units all in the same place at once.
Usually not. Even on deity, that's pretty rare, but it can happen. And it really helps to be able to kill those units quickly. So not being behind does help. And also having the combat modifiers and promotions, like shooting twice, all those things also help. Because if stuff is dying before it does much damage to you, then only some of the units actually reach you and deal damage, rather than like you start getting surrounded by units and then they're shooting you from behind. And like 4 or 5 things can attack one of your units in a single turn. Now, even with some pretty good promotions, you're going to start losing stuff. So you want to avoid that. A little bit of Battle Brothers-esque there.
Yeah, defend each other's. Defend your units should be defendable. Keep them out of the way in case they get attacked. Oh no.
And if you don't, you can always burn it down. Right, Mackie?
Yes. Which is, oh, hey, look. What are we talking about? Raze and Replace. We want to know, is it recommended or practiced by skilled players? Because in previous games, we know the AI even now sometimes places it like 1 tile off of fresh water, and you're like, why? Or it's 1 tile away, or it was 1 hex away from where you could have had an important resource later, or not later on, but like you can see the resource and you're like, but you could have had this thing. Which, to be fair, the AI may not know it's there yet. They may have not researched it. But because
I think it's still okay to call hexes tiles, by the way. You can have hex-shaped tiles.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I still call them tiles.
Yeah, they're not squares anymore. They're hex tiles rather than square tiles. Still tiles. And yes, we should see flooring in houses use hexes. That would be hilarious.
I have seen a house with hexed tiles. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I figured it must exist. It must. There's so many people.
For kitchen backsplashes, absolutely. I see so many of those now, which is nice because it's not subway tile all the time. Okay, but tiles anyway, because you in CIvV you made more tall cities, and Civ 6 it's a little more wide because you've got loyalty pressures and things like that, and you want to have more cities out there. So do we go around? Do we raise everything that a Civ has? Do we raise some of the things a Civ has? It's kind of an it depends.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there are some ones that are like, if it's late enough into the game, it's probably better to just, depending on how much loyalty pressure issue you're having, you might want, even if it's a decent, like above a certain size, I don't really want to raise that. Not sure what the size threshold is, but if they've put that 1 or 2 top city up in the middle of nowhere for a resource, a lot of times you'll raise that. But the closer you get to their capital and their more developed cities, you're less likely to raise them, especially if it's got wonders or something. Unless you're having an absolute nightmare of loyalty pressure issues, in which case everything but the capital, or you have to remember to go straight for the capital first.
I would like to push back a little bit on this thread starting this opening post, in that I do not agree that Raze and Replace was that common in Civ 3 or 4. It was probably, in my opinion, at its peak in Civ 5 because you're penalized for additional cities. So, like, sometimes that city could be a net negative. Plus, if it was a foreign city, it was always penalized relative to when you founded, because you had to build a building to get rid of the unhappiness from it, and that building had a cost. And if it was your own city, you would not have that same cost. So 5 was probably the most punishing to capture cities in the franchise history. That being said, for any of the others, and sometimes even 5, but okay, Raze was a thing in 5, you have to compare all the costs and benefits associated. Like, not just like, is the city optimally placed, which, by the AI very frequently it isn't, but like, if you burn that city, you're now losing that pop. You're losing all the yields from the turns that it would otherwise be working if you just kept it. You have to factor in the cost of building a settler, all the turns it takes to get the settler there, and to grow it back to where it was. And often these cities have infrastructure in them as well. That also takes time to get going. So, like, how many turns is it going to take before you're going to get as much out of your quote-unquote optimal city than you would have if you just kept the previous one? And usually it's way longer than it would make it worth. Especially because now in Civ 6, like, each additional settler you create costs more on top of everything else. So now you're like sacrificing your own pop and build time just to make a city somewhat more optimal. I mean, maybe it's okay to just build stuff out of that city you took and keep moving.
Yeah, if it's later in the game and you're just trying to finish things up and you don't want to have to manage the extra city, sometimes it gets raised just for that reason alone.
Well, that's true too. And if you can't keep it due to loyalty pressure, then maybe burn it. So there are reasons to burn it, but I don't think, generally speaking, raising a city to place it more optimally is going to result in something that makes your game stronger for you. There might be some exceptions, but I think as a rule, the vast majority of the time, whether in Civ 3, 4, or 6, or 2, or 1, you should probably not burn a city just to place it more optimal. Most of the time. I'll make exceptions if, like, you absolutely need it for a canal. If you're going to lose out on a strategic resource for like 50 turns because it's misplaced, there are exceptions, granted. But most of the time, if you are trying to get into as strong a position as possible, as quickly as possible, aka perform as well as you can in single player, you should not raise cities most of the time. And that's still true in Civ 6.
Yeah, I might raise to replace very early on, but after a certain point, you just reach the point where the time it's going to take, regardless of the settler cost, the time it's going to take to get that city up and running and productive, no.
I think this is still true even early, because it's still a matter of tempo. Like, you are now spending extra time and resources to get a city down when you might be able to place a different city in addition to the one you have. So there's very much a marginal consideration here. Yeah, and early game tempo is huge in determining the outcome of the game, how fast you scale up.
Well, I'm kind of thinking of the times when the AI has settled towards me and it's like a little bit off of a spot I was going to, and it's still very close to my capital,
I mean, I get it, but you probably have other city sites you can settle in the meantime instead, while you go like wreck that AI completely.
Yeah, but sometimes I'm in there for a peaceful game and I'm like, you had to do this, didn't you? I'm going to have to go to war and kick you in the face because you put the city in the stupidest spot ever.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Like, I know why people do it. I just don't think from a strength of gameplay perspective, it's justifiable in most cases. I know it's not
perfect. I know it's nowhere near optimal gameplay. It's just, we're not always sitting here playing optimally.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sometimes you gotta have something to do during those turn wait times and turn cast.
Now, there are more skilled players than me. However, I've won a few D&D games without too much trouble. I would say do not do this if you're looking to play as well as you can most of the time.
Most of the time. There are some times where it's that, and it's like we were saying, it's just off of where something needed to get, and maybe that's the only one source of something near you, because I've had that happen in the cooperative multiplayer games. It's like, could have settled that one tile over, and then I wouldn't have to raise the city to get that resource, like iron early on or horses early on. But no, you had to settle in a dumb spot, didn't you?
Yeah, if you can't place a city and you're being denied a strategic resource as a consequence, that's certainly an example. And another one, it doesn't happen often, but I have seen it in Civ 4, and I could also picture it happening in Civ 6, is the canal issue. Like you have, like there's literally only one place that a city can go where you can allow ships to pass between, and you really want that for one reason or another. Like it would make a significant difference. Maybe you're on an island map or something, or not island, but like continents, or and you have like a Panama Canal style situation. I might burn a city so that I can actually have a Panama Canal when otherwise one would be impossible. Yeah,
well, you can build a canal later on, but it's expensive.
Yeah, well, yeah, and tempo. My whole argument here is tempo, like how quickly you're scaling to get stronger. So, if I want an advantage now, then I'm not going to plan for much later.
I don't remember exactly when canals become available. I want to say either Renaissance or Industrial, which is pretty late.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd place that from a Civ perspective, because how challenging it is to build a canal would depend very strongly on the terrain. The Panama Canal is much, much more difficult to build than the Suez Canal.
Yes.
As in, you straight up needed technologies for one that you didn't for the other.
Like dynamite.
Yeah. I think probably the most common example of this is the one Mackie mentioned, where if you don't burn the city, you cannot place a city or use that city to get horse or iron in a useful time frame when you really want something like that. Like, if it's the difference between having swords or not, then yeah, maybe you do burn the city, even though it costs you more to replace it, so you can have the better unit.
It's going to cost you more in the long term, but it's also going to cost you more in the long term not to have the army to go punch something in the face or keep them from punching you in the face.
And yeah, if like having swords or men at arms and knights and crap is the difference between you conquering a neighbor or not, well, the cost of the city is relatively trivial to that. So yeah, you do it.
Because you're going to gain all the other cities that the AI had.
Yep, and you're going to gain them sooner. So yeah, I'll have high scrutiny for it, but don't rule it out entirely. That's my stance on this.
Yeah, I know we come up with that answer a lot of, it depends, but this is really one of those things where that applies a lot.
There's a reason why that was the answer in one of the old Evergreen videos. The number one clip was, the answer for every Civ question on this show ever, it depends.
Yeah, they straight up have an emoji for it in the Dominions servers, where it depends.
Yeah, because of the way just as strategy games go, no two games are alike, no two situations you're into are alike. You can't give a solid answer, do this every time.
Because if you could, it wouldn't be a game anymore. It would be boring.
Yeah.
So real quick, we have one final topic today, and that's Godking. When do we use it and when don't we use it? It's the first thing you can pick when you get your first culture policy, and the other option is +1 food, or +1 hammer per
production. Yes.
Yes, production. It's a hammer to me.
Yeah, I always think of them as hammers because I really started playing Civ extensively in 4, but they're cogs or whatever.
The production, urban planning, 1 production in all cities, or the God King policy, which is our topic, +1 faith, +1 gold in the capital only. And the question posed by STMO on Civ Fanatics is, when do you choose God King and when do you choose urban planning? The conclusion that I came to, and most of the people in the thread came to, was if you want an early Pantheon, go God King. If you want early production, go urban planning.
Yeah, I think the most justified time by far is when there is a particular Pantheon that is very strong for you and you want to make sure you get it. That would be the most likely time for me to run it.
Yeah, you have a lot of desert or you have a lot of tundra or something. You want those particular pantheons.
Yeah, because not only does that give you pretty fast returns in terms of giving you a pantheon that's going to be high yield, but also make sure you get it. But even just getting that thing more quickly is also giving you back some of the yields you're not getting from the production. So that's the most justified time.
Because the AI does have a tendency to pick up religious settlements first. So as long as you're even if you're the second person to get a pantheon, you still have a really high chance of getting the one you want.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want religious settlements.
I know. That's always like a minor contest in the multiplayer. So games like, okay, can we get religious settlements for the AI? Oh, darn.
Which one is that again?
It's the one that gives you a free settler.
Oh. That is...
I know, it is. If you get it early enough, that is really big. And I don't know if the AI is just programmed to do that or it somehow makes that choice, but...
Then it is strong. It's tough to evaluate against the others.
But if the yields of a whole city versus the yields of a single pantheon.
The yields of a city sooner, which does snowball. That's why it's hard to evaluate. And plus, it also depends how strong the alternative pantheon is too.
Yeah, because even if you get that settler, it might not be strong if you don't put it in the right place.
Well, sure. Or like, but on the other hand, it might allow you to place a city in a place that you would otherwise be outraced to, and then it's like a more permanent bonus than it would otherwise be. So there's a lot of contingencies with it. But like, I can't deny that unless you're like stuck on an island where you can't actually place the settler anytime soon, it's going to be a pretty strong choice.
Yeah, but if you're not going to do religion in this game, or not trying to do religion early, it's then we plug in urban planning, because having everything build faster, especially early, is also a snowball.
Yeah.
I think once you have more than one urban is better.
Yeah, because it'll help the new cities get off the ground just a little faster.
Plus, by then, if you're fishing for a pantheon, you probably have it. So.
Yeah.
Also, by then, there's probably better options available.
Yeah, that too. Like boosting your military.
Speaking of military on the run, this has been PolyCast 423. I'm CanusAlbinus, and today we didn't have Mega Bears Fan, but we did have Makahlua.
He'll still build the 6-axe wonder when it's possible.
And TheMeInTeam.
And you back up that 6-axe wonder with the 5 siege wonder.
I'm pretty sure you can't build the 6-axe wonder anymore because the axe span isn't in CIvV 6.
Technicalities.
They still hold axes in my heart. They have to use something to chop those trees with the Romans, I think. So you technically, are they chopping it down with their swords? I've seen YouTube videos of YouTubers trying that. It doesn't work.
There's this thing about axes. Battle axes are not good for chopping down trees, and trees are pretty unaffected by battle axes as well. Whereas axes designed for cutting down trees are still pretty effective against people as long as you're not wearing armor.
Well, they still have some blunt force capability.
Well, yeah. If you swing it at an unarmed person, it's gonna kill them. But a battle axe...
Somebody with a helmet, a pretty good bonk to the head with the blunt end of the axe.
Yeah, I think they'd still care.
Yeah. Civilization 3, 4, 5, Beyond Earth, and 6 sound clips. Copyright Take-Two Interactive. Copyright the PolyCast at thepolycast.net.